Hi, Juice.
Hi, Juice. I'm waving too.
She's not gonna wave.
Wow, how rude.
Why didn't she dial in?
What a bitch.
Okay, bye. Here we are with the soundtrack episode. And I think that's the best segue we're going to get. So welcome to best soundtrack.
Oh, we're going right into it.
Of
Okay.
2020. I said it was the segue.
Okay. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're going over the best
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we go.
Here.
It's
I'm deaf.
me.
It's soundtrack time.
It's me, Mario. So yeah, we're going to talk about the best soundtrack of the year. I have historically maintained that you either have a good visual year or you have a good soundtrack year, and I think this was a good visual year.
I agree. A lot of, specifically like near the end of this year when I was kind of wrapping up things I hadn't played, I remember like a lot of the soundtracks were up and I was like, fuck, this is awful. Like if I would have more on this list if we did a worse soundtrack.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but Ryan, what would you say is your number 3 best soundtrack?
I think my number 3 best soundtrack is Risk of Rain 2.
Almost identical soundtrack to Risk of Rain 1, but yeah,
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
Yeah,
perfect
but I've
for
never played the first one.
Yeah, it's perfect for the gameplay loop. It's like just enough. It's like it's just in the background enough that you don't like pay attention to it, but it's also like, I don't know, it ramps up with the action. It's really good for that game.
Yeah, like I agree that it's a good soundtrack. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
One of the tracks samples Purple's Rain.
Yeah,
I,
Purple's Rain.
Who's purple?
I think ordinarily on a better year, I would be more of a stickler for the original soundtrack element of it, but I'm not gonna be this year. Because I need all the help I can get.
Dash a stickler about something?
No.
So my number 3, I can think of very few game soundtracks that I would like to hear people rap over quite as much as Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VII Remake has a lot of the Final Fantasy VII songs in it. A lot of which,
excuse me, original soundtrack.
yeah, no,
so-
I predicated it. I predicated it. In a better year, I would not have this on there because I don't feel that passionately about it. But Final Fantasy VII's got a pretty catchy ass battle theme.
Final Fantasy VII has good music.
The
Yeah.
rules only apply when Dash is able to follow them.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Ports and remasters only count if Dash likes the game.
it's like it's all remixes of Final Fantasy VII music, but I think Final Fantasy VII is some pretty good music. But also there weren't a lot of good soundtracks this year.
I mean, most Final Fantasies have good music, but also I played that game and I could not remember any of the music.
It's
Do you remember the music from Final Fantasy VII? It's that.
Yeah, it's
I
that.
don't actually because
A
I
little more orchestration.
I'd never finished the first disc.
It's got really good music.
I played
Yeah.
Theatre Rhythm.
Date for them's good.
Good ass game.
So yeah, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to Matt, who at the start of this did not have this category filled out.
No, I didn't. And for that reason, you can suck my ass for what my number 3 game is, and it's Tony Hawk.
Whatever.
Yay.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I remember when we made this category, we specifically said original soundtrack because I wanted to put Grand Theft Auto 5 on the list,
Mhm.
and Ryan
Yeah.
was like, "No, not original soundtrack."
Hey,
But
if you
it's-
can do it, I
hey,
can do it.
It's a rough fucking year.
Yeah, we're gonna
Right.
let it slide. But also,
But
yeah, great soundtrack.
Yeah, I
My
can
number
completely
2 and
agree.
number
Punk
1
rock
are also
classics.
Tony Hawk, but
I remember when they showed the soundtrack list at first, and Superman wasn't on it. Nor was
R.I.P.
what's the
Fucked up.
Public Enemy
Public
wasn't
Enemy,
on. Yeah,
Bring the
wasn't on there
Noise.
either. And then they were able to get them in by the actual release, and I was fucking ecstatic.
I
that
still listen to this soundtrack. I've been
Yeah.
listening to these songs since these games released.
Bass. How low
Yeah,
can you
earlier
go?
this year.
Yeah, I think that like the music is an important part of that game, and if they were to not land that element of it, it really the game would have like lost something fundamentally.
Oh yeah.
So I'm really glad that they were able to get. They didn't get everything, but they got a lot of the bangers.
I'm trying to remember if there's even anything like super egregious that they didn't get in there.
Tony Hawk 1+2, the like, or not, no, this one's 1+2. Tony Hawk 2X does not have Superman in it, so this is a more complete soundtrack.
Right.
Fuck
But do you even remember any of the songs that aren't in there? Like, I can't think of any that I would be like, oh man, I sure wish
Ace of
it had.
Spades.
Was that? I thought that was.
No, that's 3. That's 3. No, I mean it's public to me. It's
And
Public
don't forget
Enemy,
the
it's
Joker.
Rage Against the Machine, and it's Superman. Like those are the 3 Tony Hawk songs.
Oh, I mean, you got to have Primus. You got to have
was Race Car Driver on this
the
one?
first one.
But was it on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. He
You
drove
gotta
so
have-
goddamn fast.
Yeah, you got to have Dub Pistols. You got to have Pin the Tail on the Donkey. I know all these. They're good. It's good shit.
Yeah,
In
like
my
I
mind,
they put the playlist on Spotify, and I jammed out to it so much this year. Like I remember we were just playing Magic at one point, and I just kind of had it on in the background.
I've used it as like a jumping off point because I've kind of swung back into being into like punk music, and I've always liked it, but I've used this as like, oh well, maybe I should listen to more from this band, listen
Like-
to more Suicidal Tendencies because all I want is a Pepsi. So
Tony Hawk and like Guitar Hero are the formative music things for my entire like music library. And it's great. So thank
In
you,
my
Matt, for
mind,
bringing that up because it's something we all enjoyed.
Yep. Anytime.
Jason,
in
what's
my
Happy to
your
help.
number 3?
I didn't include it because I follow the rules.
Yeah.
in
I
my
wanted
mind,
to
the
include it,
only
but I
song
didn't.
In Tony,
Well, you made me fill out the category, so
in my
Here
mind,
we
the only
are.
song in Tony Hawk's 1 through 4 is Superman, and the only song in Thug 1 and 2 is Break On Through to the Other Side.
Yep, the name
Yeah.
of that song.
Yep.
that is
I
what it's
mean,
called.
that's what
Don't
they
forget the
say in
Joker.
it.
Don't forget the Joker.
No, that movie came out like 2 years ago.
Jason, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is similar to my number 3 of the last category. It is Doom Eternal. It's
Yeah.
just good rip and tear and metal music.
I think that the shit that happened regarding Mick Gordon and that game is super shitty.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
that being said, the other guy seems to do a pretty fucking good job.
has he done? Well, no, he did the DLC, right?
Yeah, he did all the DLC. And I mean, given I'm not like a refined metal guy or anything like that, but it sounds like that Doom shit.
Yeah.
Did
I like it.
anybody play the DLC here?
I want
No,
to,
I
but
need
no,
to,
I
though.
haven't.
Now I have about 300
I didn't even
hours
play
of
the
base
base
game
game.
left.
I want to play it, but it has not gone on a meaningful sale, and I've just been busy with other games.
I've also heard it's really fucking hard.
Yeah, which is
Like,
like kind of makes
people-
me
Yeah,
curious
from
about
Jason.
it.
Yeah, well, some
didn't
like
say the game
reviewers
was
I
hard,
saw
it's just too
online
long.
have said
6 to 1, half a dozen.
have said it's the most challenging thing they've done in like a first-person shooter, and it's like that game was already pretty fucking hard.
Yeah, like that
I don't
has
know
me
if I can-
curious.
It's
I don't know what
literally
I can-
just
what else I can do.
Marauders.
Ugh.
Ugh. Well, yeah, Doom, good soundtrack. Hunter, lay them tunes on me.
My number 3, based on the fact that I remembered one song from it, is Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah.
Oh, because that game only had one song, so
Yeah,
cool.
so that's why I remembered it. And that's why it's on here. Because I could remember one song.
I got that one song stuck in my head all year, but I do kind of hate it.
It's
Compared to like New Leaf and kind of its constantly changing soundtrack, I felt like this one focused too much on its main theme, and it ended up just driving me crazy because I heard it in every song.
Dude.
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah.
It's got KK ska in it though, so
Yeah. I mean, it's got good songs, but
But all those good songs are from older Animal Crossing games.
yeah.
Like Go KK Writer.
I was literally just thinking go KK Writer.
Blah, blah. Blah, da, blah, 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 blah,
What?
blah, blah.
Well, Ryan, what is your number 2?
I think my number 2 is Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
It does more of what the first one did. It's a good just metal soundtrack. I think I feel like it's matched up more in this one with the visuals, just because they leaned so much harder into the metal aspect of it. But then it also has all those old id Software songs thrown in there for like the posters and stuff you can look at. So it's got a really like expansive soundtrack along just with a rockin' one, good for jibbing some demons.
That's a good soundtrack. My number 2 game got the number 2 spot because I remember that I verbally remarked on it at one point this year. But I think that Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, has got a really good soundtrack for that Crash Bandicoot feel. Like, I don't know what I would call the genre of Crash Bandicoot music, but there's definitely like a distinct style of it. And I think that Crash Bandicoot 4 nails the Crash Bandicoot sound.
I've been playing that game and I don't even know if I could remember hearing a song in that game.
It's like none of the songs are like particularly like noteworthy, nor would I listen to them outside of the context of the game. But whenever I am in the game and I hear them, it's like I could pick Crash Bandicoot music out of a lineup. And
well, I could pick out the
Crash
main
Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot theme. I'd listen to like the main theme of the old games out of just
Like,
in the wild.
It's not quite surf rock, nor is it like island music. It's just that Crash Bandicoot music.
Yeah, it's like a mix of it. It has some pretty decent songs in there.
And yeah, I remember at multiple points I was remarking, I'm like, they made this really sound like Crash Bandicoot music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was enjoyable. It fit the game, but I would not listen to it outside of the context of the game. But it was a weak year for soundtracks, so here we are. Matt, is yours still Tony Hawk?
Well, I put Animal Crossing, but it
yeah,
it's Tony Hawk. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah,
We done said it.
Okay, Jason.
My number 2 could be reviewed as, hey, these are some good songs, and it's Hades.
Fucking got him.
Hades is also my number 2.
Hades nuts.
2 songs.
I mean, yeah, Hunter
Wait,
also
so-
has it as the number 2, so we can just
Hey Ryan, do you
openly
have it as your
discuss.
number 1?
Yeah, I have it as my number 1.
I also have it as my number 1. It is the only soundtrack I feel strongly about this year. And it's
Yeah,
kind of a bummer that it went up in such a weak year because I think it totally hangs.
Yeah, like
Just like you just did.
I was playing it, and I think here we are, half a month into the new year, and I was like, oh shit, this is the first time in almost a year I've been like, hey, this game is a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Ryan said, "Oh shit, this slaps."
Yeah,
Darren Korb
I looked over at my fiance, said, man, this fucks. This is sick.
Yo.
Like,
Like,
I
what
love
are you
the
talking
Bastion
about?
soundtrack, and the Bastion soundtrack has always been like one of my go-to video game soundtracks to like just show people like, hey, listen to how good this shit is. And this
So
sounds like
this has a banjo in it.
And a
But this one-
kazooie.
it sounds like Darren Korb making the Doom soundtrack, and I fucking love it. It's the only one of these soundtracks of this year that I actually play on my Spotify and like have in my normal like rotation.
Oh, it's on
because it just sounds so
Yep, it is.
it sounds so fucking good.
It's one of the 3 video game soundtracks from this year I found on Spotify that ended up in my top 3.
Are you trying to listen to more video game music now that it's one of the categories?
I mean, I went to listen to them so I could decide on my answers for the category.
Yeah, Hades soundtrack, the only like actual good soundtrack of the year. Matt, do you got the number 1?
I mean, my number 1 soundtrack was a game that didn't actually come out this year, and I'm going to talk about it later. So, Tony Hawk.
Cool.
You're right. Doing everything.
All right, next category.
Jason.
We're only on the second episode. It's already fallen apart.
Hey, don't worry. I have my next 2 categories are full.
My number 1, just with a tiny edge over Hades, is Ghost of Tsushima. I just think the whole game is pretty immersive, and when I turned the soundtrack on yesterday, and it just immediately made me want to go play the game more.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know that game had music.
I think that all of the music in that game fits the game really well. I could not distinctly remember any of it, but I think
That's
It-
right.
it-
A
it all
soundtrack
pretty-
doesn't
it all-
necessarily need to be something you would listen to outside of it. It can be
You're right,
something that
yeah.
works well within a game
It
that
all-
adds
all-
to the
I mean,
environment.
Like the
Crash
soundtrack
Bandicoot.
the soundtrack had a bunch of songs on it, and I just kind of clicked through a few of them. Yeah, they all sound pretty similar. I mean, they sound like your stereotypical
Yo.
Japanese old music,
The only
but
time
they work really well with that
Right.
game.
was when I accidentally swiped on the touchpad and he pulled out the flute. I was like, "What the fuck is this? Why does he have a flute?"
I still
Matt,
don't know
fuck
why he
you.
has a flute.
I don't know why he
Changes
has
the
a flute.
weather. If you find enough crickets in graveyards, you can change
Oh
the
yeah,
weather,
yeah.
which is purely a cosmetic thing. It doesn't actually do anything.
I
Hold
think
on,
I
can I
only
please
ever
have my
found.
game back? I want to play more of it.
I'm
I
gonna.
think I only ever found one cricket.
Hunter, can I please have Dash's game and then also his PS5 so I can play it?
Yeah,
You
sure.
can
Hunter,
have
what's your-
mine, and then I get Jason's.
Hunter,
Okay.
what was your favorite soundtrack?
It's Doom Eternal because I remembered 3 songs from it.
Nice, a lot of overlap.
Yeah, hey,
yeah,
look,
right.
we just did
Tons.
game of the generation where there was a
Yeah.
lot more to choose from. I
You're
knew
almost
going
like-
into this we'd have a lot. You're right, I did
We're
have to say
working
it.
smaller, so we're going from generation to year. We're gonna do month, week, day. So
Game of the
like and
hour.
subscribe for those updated videos.
Game
Make
of
sure
the
you hit
last
that
10
bell.
minutes.
Between the
Um,
5 of us, how many unique games did we name in this category?
not a
Like
lot of
5
games.
games.
Not a lot of games came out this year.
I
And
wonder
then
why.
we all played a lot of the same ones.
Yeah, because most of the time any of us played a game, it was kind of like one of us would play a game, be like, hey, this is good, you should check it out. And everyone was like, oh, I should check that out.
I mean, scrolling down my list, you see the words Miles Morales, Hades, and Tsushima a lot.
Hey, what was that game that delayed itself out of December because of Cyberpunk?
D's nuts.
Because I was trying to remember the other day, but I couldn't.
It wasn't. I
'Cause
don't
I
remember
thought-
either.
I thought
Like
it was
it-
Assassin's Creed, but I was like, wait, no, that came
No,
out.
that came out.
Like it delayed
Comment
itself
below.
because they were worried Cyberpunk was going to be too good.
Yeah,
It was
before
releasing the same.
Cyberpunk came
It
out.
was when Cyberpunk was coming out in November. They had the same release date, and then it delayed itself,
Man.
and then Cyberpunk delayed itself, and well, here we are.
Man, they
Well, I
should've
think
kept
it's
their date
also-
to compete with Cyberpunk.
Part of it also, they may not have even been worried that it was going to be a good game. They were probably worried like people have already committed their $60 or
Yeah.
$70
It's
to
like-
buying this game.
To be fair, that game has sold more than almost any game Capcom has ever made ever. So, you don't need to make something good. Anyway, we're losing the thread here. That is going to be all for
And
the
our
best-
audience.
That's gonna. Oh yeah,
Audience.
Sean's gone.
Oh, darn.
That's gonna be all for the best soundtrack of 2020. Join us next time where we'll be talking about the best characters of 2020. We will see
Smell you
then.
later.
Smell you later.